for the next program in this session of introduction of guests and presentation of Ahmadiyya Muslim Humanitarian Award. I invite Amjad Mahmood Khan Sahib.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. To all of our honored guests who have come from so far, to all of the convention delegates, Assalamu alaikum. This is the Islamic greeting of peace and blessings of God on behalf of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in America. Welcome to the 74th Jalsa Salana, the nation's oldest and longest running American Muslim convention. It is now my honor, after that keynote address by Habib Shafiq, to introduce several special guests, dignitaries, public officials, and friends of our community. And our first speaker is the Honorable Mayor Levar Stoney. Mr. Stoney is serving his second term as the 80th mayor of the city of Richmond, our host city, and the youngest to hold this office. A few days ago, and before I call Mayor Stoney, I wanted to share this. A few days ago, in partnership with the city of Richmond, our community continued this tradition we launched at last year's Jalsa. And that initiative is called Jalsa Cares, a community outreach initiative. And through it, our community worked on 3 projects identified by the city of Richmond: cleaning up the garden at the local Veterans Hospital in conjunction with the American Red Cross, cleaning up James River at Pony Pasture Park, and cleaning up Evergreen and East End cemeteries. We also partnered with RVA Community Fridges to donate food and resources to tackle food insecurity in this city. Incredibly moving day of service just a few days ago with over 30 of our volunteers. We're grateful to Mayor Stoney for his enthusiastic support of Jalsa Cares and these initiatives, and we're honored to have him share some remarks. Mayor Stoney.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. I want to begin by sending my thoughts and prayers to the families who are mourned, the loved ones who passed away during the extreme heat event that took place during the annual pilgrimage to Mecca just a few weeks ago. My heart and the hearts here in Richmond ache. I would like to take a quick moment of silence to honor their memory. Thank you. I want to thank you for this vibrant community being here in Richmond and for inviting me here today on this momentous occasion, the 74th annual Jalsa Salana. Let me continue giving thanks to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community for choosing the great city of Richmond to host this incredibly important gathering. For those of you with ties to Richmond, welcome home. And for those who traveled far away to be here today, welcome and enjoy all that our vibrant city has to offer. It says so much that Richmond, once the home of immense prejudice, can now host the oldest annual Muslim American convention in the United States. We were once known as the capital of the Confederacy and are now embracing our role as the capital of compassion. We took down monuments that represented division and replace them with actions that showcase our collective strength and unity. Last July, we as a community, for the first time in our history, celebrated Muslim American Heritage Month. We have undergone a cultural renaissance here in the city of Richmond, and we are that much better because of it. You all have gathered here today in spiritual unity to reject hate in all of its forms, including Islamophobia, and instead promote love for all people. I am proud to stand with you all today in that purpose. And we've seen universal love in action just this past Thursday during the Jalsa Cares Day of Service, when volunteers from this community selflessly spent the entire day serving others. It was you who cleaned up our neighborhoods. It was you who donated food. It was you who gave blood that will help save lives. And it's actions like these that remind us of the profound impact that community can have in healing. Together, we can create a world where love overpowers hate, where peace overcomes turmoil, where the light of unity dispels the shadows of division. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for embodying that vision, and thank you for letting me be a part of this beautiful celebration. May we continue to have love for all and hatred for none. Thank you.
We're very grateful, Mayor Stoney, for those truly uplifting words and your support for all that we do here at Jalsa Salana. Our next speaker is the Honorable Lashrecse. She is member of the Virginia State Senate from the 13th District, which includes all of Charles City County, Prince George County, Surrey County, and Sussex County, and parts of Dinwiddie County and Henrico County. She sits on the Court of Justice and Education and Health Committees. Senator Aird.
To the Ahmadiyya Muslim community leadership, special guests, convention delegates, and friends, Assalamu alaikum. It is an honor to receive an invitation and privilege to experience such a meaningful convention, such as your 74th U.S. Jalsa Salana. Please consider these greetings both as the Senator of the 13th District and on behalf of the Virginia Senate as a whole in everything it represents as an institution. First and foremost, I would like to commend the Ahmadiyya community for holding true for 104 years to the timeless value and principle of love for all, hate for none. Your contributions to your communities and many others through your humanitarian efforts ensures your words aren't hollow. And I know many are the beneficiaries of your efforts. Your spirit is intrinsically linked to serving others and serving wherever possible, and for that, I thank you. With this year's convention theme, Building a Sustainable Peace, Saving Humanity amidst grave conflict, my message is a simple one. There is power in our voice, especially when unified together. Challenges to sustain peace are faced by every generation and show up in many places and in many ways. By all accounts, the ones we are actively seeing occur right now are no different. But what is and should be different is how we respond. My community, your community, is our shared community. And therefore, we have a shared obligation to fight for the oppressed. And we are stronger in that fight together and unified. As a people, all that you have stood for is emblematic of peace. And I stand here today embracing your model and imploring my peers, silence, no more. To me, that means I must commit and truly feel the obligations in this moment to uplift principles of peace and a world plagued by conflict. I understand that conflict is part of life and has molded and shaped the world we live in well before any of our time. People agree, they disagree, they argue, even fight, and that can often and has turned to violence. But the true outcome of these conflicts is determined entirely by how it is handled. Right now, my heart breaks to bear witness to the handling of the gravest of conflicts happening around us, and my soul is pained by the suffering and unimaginable and profound loss of life that should otherwise be avoidable. My prayer is for this to end, and for all with the power to end these traumatic events to cease, that they do so. So as a legislator, a representative of people, someone who tries to be a fighter for justice, and above anything else, a human being that cares deeply for all mankind, my commitment is to do as you have done and put action behind my words, especially now when it is needed the most. So I give thanks to the Ahmadiyya community for demonstrating your beliefs and being a light for all to behold in our individuals' journey, in our individual journeys to love for all and hate none. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Aird. Our next speaker is the Honorable Joshua Cole. He is a member of the Virginia House of Delegates, representing the 65th District since 2023, which includes the historic city of Fredericksburg and stretches to the King George and Stafford County line. We invite him to share his remarks and make a special presentation of a resolution that was just presented yesterday. A few of us had the privilege of going as his guest to the House of Delegates in the State House, in which he presented this resolution as well. Delegate Cole.
Well, good evening and assalamu alaikum. I'm doubly honored to be here to celebrate with you all. And first, thank you for joining us here in the Commonwealth of Virginia and in the city of Richmond for your 74th Jalsa Salana. As I think back on what's happening overseas in Gaza right now, I'm reminded back in 2020, during the protests and what was happening with George Floyd in Gaza, in Palestine, there were pictures of George Floyd. And as we protested in the streets and decried, there is no peace, there is no justice, we raise up the same adage now. There can be no peace if there is no justice. And so we stand in solidarity with you all, with many family members across the seas, with many people who are struggling right now. As I joined with you all earlier today, I came across the many different booths that you had, and I walked past the AMPS, the Ahmadiyya Muslims for Public Service booth. And I want to encourage many of you all, if you haven't already, to stop by and figure out a way how you can get involved in your communities. There is a statement by Shirley Chisholm of blessed memory who said, if you do not have a seat at the table, pull up a folding chair and make sure that your voice is heard. We need everyone to be involved at every level. That doesn't necessarily mean being an elected official, but you have to be in the room where it happens to make sure that your voice is heard and that you are raising your concerns. Before I present the resolution, as a Christian pastor, I'm reminded of the story of the Nusayba family over in Israel. This is a Muslim family who holds the keys to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And for centuries, this family has passed the keys down from generation to generation to generation to ensure that Christians have the ability to worship on Sunday mornings. This is a partnership that was forged between the Muslim community, the Christian community, and the Jewish community to ensure that the Church of the Holy Sepulchre could be a place of worship that everyone could worship at. But the key factor is, it is the Muslim community that holds the keys that allows my Christian brothers and sisters to worship on Sunday mornings. And for that, I say thank you. But more importantly, that we are able to forge these relationships together right here in America. that we are not enemies, but we are brothers and sisters, that when you hurt, I hurt, when you feel pain, I feel pain, and instead of fighting each other, we must forge relationships to come together and support each other to make sure that we can live peaceably with all men. I appreciate you, and again, I want to celebrate you guys coming here to the Commonwealth of Virginia and the city of Richmond. And before I take my seat, I would like to present to you House Resolution number 705, commending your 74th Jalsa Salana. Thank you, and peace be with you.
Thank you very much, Delegate Cole, for those uplifting remarks and for the presentation of the resolution. Our next speaker is the Honorable Marcia Price. She is a member of the Virginia House of Delegates since 2016, representing the new 85th District, which includes parts of the cities of Hampton and Newport News. She serves on the General Laws Committee and Health, Welfare, and Institutions Committee. Delegate Price.
Good afternoon. It is my absolute pleasure to help welcome you to Virginia for the 75th Jalsa Salana. To be America's oldest and longest running Muslim convention, I can only imagine all that you've witnessed, experienced, and accomplished in that time. I am humbled to be invited to this space to witness the beauty and power of our shared humanity. A very special hello to all the Virginians in the room. Thank you for all you do every day to help make Virginia an even better place to live, love, learn, and make a lasting legacy. And to all gathered, your critical community service here in Virginia and throughout the world show your compassion and commitment to your values, and we thank you. We may have many differences, but with a motto like love for all, hatred for none, we can acknowledge the fact that love transcends differences of gender, language, religion, and geography. We know that love can be felt in heart-to-heart collaboration across any line that seeks to divide us. But it takes each of us doing our part to get to a world where love for all is a reality for all. There's nothing more that we can do to please our God than to love God's people. But sadly, we also know that hatred can travel across those boundaries too. Especially now, a lot of us are feeling less than loved in our charged political climate. Our ability to have true freedom of religion and be respected in our shared public spaces is on the line. Our ability to live in peace and shared respect is on the line. It is up to us to block the hatred that would have us forever be divided and build a new and better future with the love that binds us all. And that is the work we must do together. But I'm so honored to be in your presence because your leadership in working for global peace is admirable and necessary. And we stand with you in your calls for a ceasefire in Gaza, the release of all hostages, increased humanitarian aid, and its safe delivery. And we call on all nations to recommit to the international laws we have in place and to pass more just and equitable policies going forward. And it is because we know true peace is never achieved by simply suppressing those who are different from us. Peace is not achieved by false unity of quieting dissent or difference, but by embracing each other as equals in the eyes of God. And peace cannot become our norm with others twisting God's words in order to justify their hatred and divisive agendas. Everyone in this room is included in our constitutions, we the people of the United States. And in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, our Constitution must be able to protect us all equally. We know that true peace requires doing the work to uphold human rights and dignity, especially in times of conflict. There is no peace without justice, so thank you all for doing the work that you do for justice around the world. I look forward to continued dialogue and collaboration as allies in this work for justice, and I pray for your time together to be all that you need it to be re-energized and inspired for the work we all have ahead, to create a brighter, safer, and healthier future for all of our children. I wish you all the peace and love that your heart can stand while here in Virginia and throughout your lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate Price, for those words. Our next speaker is the Honorable Sam Rasoul. Sam became Virginia's first Muslim legislator when he was elected to the General Assembly in 2014, House of Delegates, the son of immigrants from Palestine. Sam grew up in Roanoke, Virginia, where his family owned a corner store. He serves as chairman of the House Education Committee and as a member of the Appropriations and Public Safety Committees. Delegate Rasoul.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It is a pleasure to be with you. First, takbir. 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 Let's give a big round of applause to my fellow legislators who showed up for us today. Alhamdulillah, 10 years ago, I had the honor of being elected as the first Muslim in Virginia, but I was elected in the Bible Belt of Virginia. I'm 3 hours west of here in the foothills of Appalachia. And I would go into my churches and I would talk about two stories. One, there's a story in the Bible about Peter washing the feet of his disciples, Peter watching Jesus, Isa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, washing the feet of his disciples, but he was uneasy about that. And that was a lesson in humility. And I would talk about a second story about growing up on free lunch, having to rush through the lunch line because I was so embarrassed by my little free lunch card. And so as a Muslim coming into these churches, people felt a connection. They gave us an opportunity. SubhanAllah, what are we judged by? Not by our deeds, but by our niyyah, by our intention. And they didn't know what to make of this Palestinian Muslim coming into their churches, but they gave us an opportunity to serve. Alhamdulillah, our intention has guided us, and they gave me an opportunity through an election. And when I look back, I say, where did this come from? I grew up in a corner store, and no matter who came through the corner store, black, white, rich, poor, we learned to relate to people no matter where they came from. And that allowed us the opportunity to build relationships and to be able to serve in the most unlikely of places. You know, we heard earlier about in your opening speech about he who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power to love. So I was driving here on I-95, and I was about an hour away, and somebody just now rear-ended me. And so I was delayed about an hour. I got out of my car, the guy got out, we started talking. Turns out it's an African-American Muslim brother. He said, sorry, I just picked up my kids in Washington. I'm driving all the way to Florida so they can spend the summer with me. I apologize. We traded information. We got to know each other. Turns out we even know some people in common. And my heart, let me tell you how heavy it is with our brothers and sisters who are being affected by this genocide in Gaza. Seeing this man with his 3 young children, they were 10, 8, and 6, sitting there mortified after 20 minutes of being in the car. Our heart just goes out to anyone who is suffering, who's going through. SubhanAllah, we were so anxious to forgive and forget and move on. We traded information. I had a few little gifts in my car I gave to his kids. We search for a way to forgive. We search for a way forward. This is a difficult time, though. It is very hard, because what is perverse about this moment in history, we've never had anything like it, where we're watching a genocide play out minute by minute in front of our eyes, and at the same time, as Americans, we are funding it. But yet we are called as Muslimin, somehow, subhanAllah, to be able to forgive and move forward. I will tell you what I have been pleased by, the silver lining in all of this. We have seen so many of our friends, our allies stand up, but in particular, those friends from our Jewish community who have stood up and said, not in our name, takbir. They have said this genocide does not represent our faith. They have said that we will stand on the right side of history, just as the Jewish community has done in every single civil rights movement in this country's history. And there is a clear delineation between the perverse nature that has enabled this genocide, the Zionism that enables that to happen, and the beautiful teachings within Judaism. And alhamdulillah, we have grown closer with our brothers and sisters in so many ways. What are we called to do? This is our moment as Muslimin to be able to show who we are, because we understand that our justice is not a destination, but in fact it is a journey, subhanAllah. So how will we react? Will we react with the courage of Josh Paul being able to stand up against this administration, saying we no longer will stand idly by and fund a genocide? And we as a community, I know you will hear it, but we give you a big round of applause for your courage, sir. Allahu Akbar. This is a unique moment. As was stated earlier in the sermon, we know the struggle in Gaza is not a religious struggle. We know this is a struggle that is geopolitical, and it is for land. It is for taking the rights of people. It is a colonial, settler colonial project that unfortunately has so many perverse side effects. But what we do, this is our moment. As Muslims, as someone who grew up as an ultra minority in the most unlikely of places, we know that we must stand up and do our part. I know with all my Ahmadiyya friends, because of the persecution you have faced, because of the trials you have been through, that the calling is unique to the 6,000 people who are here today and the tens of thousands throughout this country. So thank you for standing on the right side of history. Thank you for being the Muslimin in your heart that carry the niyyah that will move this country forward. Alhamdulillah, takbir. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Delegate Rasoul, for their stirring words. Ahmadi Muslims are deeply committed to the promotion of peace, freedom, loyalty to country, and service to humanity. In 2011, our community established an annual Ahmadiyya Muslim Humanitarian Award to recognize the services and contributions of individuals who selflessly strive to assist oppressed and disadvantaged communities around the world. By being an advocate for these communities, these individuals protect and safeguard fundamental and universal human rights. So this year, we're delighted to honor the work of U.S. Congressman James McGovern. Representative Jim McGovern is a member of the U.S. House of Representatives since 1997, representing Massachusetts' 2nd Congressional District. He is a ranking member of the House Rules Committee, co-chair of the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission, which is the human rights arm of the U.S. House of Representatives. Representative McGovern has been a principled advocate for human rights, the rule of law, and justice for all communities, particularly in this current conflict. He has spent his entire congressional career defending the rights of the oppressed and vulnerable, and his work in ameliorating poverty and hunger is very well known. He is a member of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Congressional Caucus. We honor Congressman McGovern this year with the 2024 Ahmadiyya Muslim Humanitarian Award. He is not here, but a few weeks ago, we presented the award to him in his office at Capitol Hill, and he has recorded a special message for this Jalsa Salana, and I ask our MTA team to play that now.
I'm humbled to be receiving this year's 2024 Ahmadiyya Muslim Humanitarian Award. It is a wonderful honor to join a distinguished list of past recipients that includes fellow members of Congress, committed human rights advocates, and social justice luminaries. I have known the Ahmadiyya Muslim community for many, many years, especially in Massachusetts. Your deep commitment to universal human rights and humanitarian service is admirable, and I appreciate your long track record of speaking out for social justice. I have learned about the fascinating history of your community. Your founder exemplified the peaceful teachings of Islam, even as he faced bitter hostility and persecution. He once said, "We must never restrict our circle of kindness." These are powerful words that remain essential today, as the Ahmadi community continues to be the target of grave human rights abuses. And your current leader has been a consistent champion for peace for more than 20 years, providing valuable advice for world leaders. And I agree with his plea that all must act with restraint and justice. I look forward to welcoming him back to Capitol Hill in the future. What sets your community apart is that you advocate for the rights of all oppressed and disadvantaged communities with as much zeal and passion as you do your own persecuted brothers and sisters. And it's not just words. I see you year after year bringing hundreds to Capitol Hill to fight for the rights of so many different vulnerable populations. Whether it's the Uyghur Muslims, Rohingya Muslims, Christians, Yazidis, or others, you are known for your commitment to uniting communities towards peace and reconciliation. Your voice and advocacy are incredibly important in this moment of crisis in the world. What is happening in Gaza right now is unbelievably tragic. We must save humanity from this destructive war. Last December, I joined your Voices for Peace campaign on Capitol Hill to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. I was moved to learn how your community in Israel was able to bring together thousands of Jews, Muslims, and Christians to call for peace. Your approach is an example for us all. We must continue to push for a ceasefire and a return of all hostages. These are necessary steps that I believe could put us on a path towards a sustained peace. I regret that I cannot be with you today in person for your 74th Jalsa Salana, but I wish you the best during your convention and look forward to continuing to work together in the future. Thank you again for this incredible honor, and Jalsa Mubarak.
Our next speaker is the Honorable Stephen Schneck, Chair of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. Professor Schneck retired from Catholic University after more than a 30-year career as a professor, department chair, and dean. He received his doctorate from the University of Notre Dame. He served the administration of President Obama as a member of the White House Advisory Council for Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships, recently named chair of USCIRF. USCIRF, of course, is a non-governmental body that monitors religious freedom all over the world. We're very delighted to have him with us, and we ask him to share his remarks.
Good evening, everyone. As you just heard, I'm Steve Schneck, the new chair of the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, or USCIRF as it's often called. I was appointed to the commission in 2020 by President Biden. It's been my great honor to serve on the commission. But it's also a great honor this evening to be here, and I thank you so much for inviting me to join you at this wonderful gathering, this gathering of so many Ahmadi community leaders from around the world. It's an honor to be part of this conference. As you just heard, USCIRF is an independent, bipartisan U.S. federal government body that is dedicated to promoting the universal right to freedom of religion or belief abroad. Throughout the year, we monitor international religious freedom conditions and make policy recommendations to President Biden, the Department of State, and Congress. Seeing you all this evening, I'm encouraged by the resilience of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, and especially encouraged by the many ways this community works to overcome repression and coercive tactics that the community faces around the world. Yet, it is disheartening that the Ahmadiyya Muslim community continues to face such serious physical, social, legal, and systematic threats in so many countries around the globe. USCIRF's monitoring and reporting has extensively documented these threats in several countries, including Algeria, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia, Malaysia, and of course, Pakistan. Across each of these countries, Ahmadis are denied the right to practice their faith, are subject to communal violence, denied access to their places of worship, targeted by hate speech, and in some cases convicted under blasphemy charges. Many countries prohibit Ahmadis from declaring their faith publicly, criminalizing them for identifying themselves as Muslim, and prohibiting them from calling their houses of worship mosques. Through the Frank R. Wolf Victims List, USCIRF maintains a large database of individuals who have been imprisoned on the basis of religion and includes cases of Ahmadis who are currently serving prison sentences on charges related to unauthorized worship, distribution of religious materials, proselytization, and blasphemy. Ahmadis are also often targeted by unjust and discriminatory blasphemy laws. Last year, USCIRF released an extensive compendium of blasphemy laws, highlighting laws around the world. The laws are without doubt most extreme in Pakistan, where many of the rights of the Ahmadiyya community are consistently violated, and many individuals are currently serving life sentences or long prison terms for this alleged blasphemy. This is partly why USCIRF has recommended that Pakistan be designated a country of particular concern since 2002 for committing and tolerating systematic, ongoing, and egregious violations of religious freedom. We made this recommendation most recently in our 2024 annual report, where we highlighted the current challenges in Pakistan, including Pakistani efforts to strengthen these already harsh blasphemy laws. We remain concerned that if implemented, these changes risk further exacerbating the existing horrible threats facing Pakistan's Ahmadiyya community. USCIRF remains deeply troubled by the increasing pattern of intolerance and violence against Pakistan's Ahmadiyya Muslim community, particularly in the last several months. We are alarmed by the increasing vigilante mob attacks on members of the Ahmadiyya community and continue to call for measurable reforms to improve the security and the safety of that community, including the ability to engage in religious practices without fear of reprisal, without fear of violence. Earlier this month, my colleagues and I expressed alarm and condemned Pakistani authorities' efforts to detain members of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in Punjab to prevent them from celebrating Eid al-Adha. Equally concerning is the rise of anti-Ahmadi hate speech and crimes in Pakistan over the last year. In the lead-up to the 2024 elections in Pakistan, several political parties engaged in campaigns against Ahmadis, including targeting places of worship and demolishing minarets. The 2024 election further highlighted that Ahmadis continue to be disenfranchised in Pakistan's electoral process as they are denied the right to vote. USCIRF has made specific policy recommendations urging the United States government to work with Pakistan to stop its mistreatment of the Ahmadiyya community and to reform these discriminatory laws. This includes entering into a binding agreement with the Pakistani government to encourage the repeal of blasphemy and anti-Ahmadiyya laws. Until such repeal, we continue to urge the Pakistani government to enact reforms to make blasphemy a bailable offense, require higher thresholds of evidence by accusers, ensure proper investigation by senior police officials, and allow authorities to dismiss unfounded accusations. USCIRF wants you to know that we are with you, here to support your community's right to freedom of religion. I can assure you that USCIRF is very concerned about the challenges this community faces abroad, and we will continue to shine a light wherever possible. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you very much, Chairman Schneck. We deeply appreciate the support of USCIRF in the struggle to rectify the persecution of our community abroad. Our final speaker for this evening is Josh Paul. Mr. Paul grew up between London and New York. He holds master's degrees from Georgetown University, University of St. Andrews in Scotland. He previously served for 11 years as a director in the U.S. State Department's Bureau of Political Military Affairs, which is responsible for U.S. defense diplomacy, security assistance, and arms transfers. And last year, you may know, Mr. Paul resigned because he couldn't countenance the current U.S. policy of expediting lethal arms to Israel in the context of the conflict in Gaza. And so since his resignation, he has been dedicated to advocacy on this issue. Mr. Paul.
Thank you. Thank you. Honored Chair, convention delegates, honored guests, let me start with my sincere thanks to the organizing committee of this 74th Jalsa Salana and the entire Ahmadiyya community for the honor of addressing you today. I understand that the slogan of your community is love for all, hatred for none. Hatred for none. That's the easy part. Love for all? That can be difficult. These are not words or practices that we see or hear enough in our world, particularly not in this moment of Islamophobia and dehumanization of Palestinians. This moment in which our nation is doing everything it can to support a campaign that is killing innocents and is starving an entire population. It is particularly significant that this motto and this lesson comes from a community, your community, that has in its time experienced so much discrimination, so much repression, and so much violence. We all have so much to learn from you. We know what hatred looks like. I spent 2 days this week on Capitol Hill with a group of American doctors, Muslims, Christians, and Jewish doctors who have recently returned from Gaza. And they recounted their experiences to Congress, their experiences treating the wounds of children shot through with shrapnel, in hospitals that lacked anesthetics, in rooms packed with the stench of the dead and the dying. This, as thousands of Israeli civilians blockade aid trucks, burn olive trees, and explicitly call for the genocide and ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. And from all we can tell, we are at a time not only in that region, but in America too, where hatred is on the rise. We see increases in Islamophobia and in anti-Semitism. We have seen in these past months college administrators working with the police to deploy snipers against their own students. We have seen the US House of Representatives, just in the last couple of days, pass language that would prevent the State Department from quoting the Gaza Health Ministry's casualty figures, figures which America's top diplomat responsible for Middle East affairs has publicly said are actually an undercount. We have seen children, a 6-year-old Palestinian child murdered in Chicago, 3 Arab American students shot in Vermont. Last week, the attempted drowning of a baby for being Palestinian American. And 2 nights ago, we witnessed a presidential debate in which one of the candidates for the leadership of our nation used the word Palestinian as a slur, and even worse, he used it against the other candidate whose policies have been responsible for the deaths and the slaughter of tens of thousands of Palestinians, and that candidate said nothing in response. I have worked these past tragic 9 months to advocate for humanity and for the equal humanity of Palestinians and Israelis, of Muslims, of Christians, of Jews, and in that time, I have seen the other side of this, not the hatred, but the love. I have made so many new friends, friends who support humanity, friends who have worked their whole lives for peace, be they American or Israeli, Christian or Muslim or Jew, and most of all, I have made so many Palestinian friends. I have seen the love of that culture, the warmth of its people, and the resilience of its people. And I have been inspired beyond words. And as I stand before you, all I can say to former President Trump, to current President Biden, and to all of our fellow Americans is this: it would be the honor of my life to be called a Palestinian. Let me conclude with the words of His Holiness Mirza Masroor Ahmad, who said, "Our true happiness will be when humanity begins to recognize the rights we owe to one another and when hatred turns to love." Thank you to this community, to the Ahmadiyya community, for the work you do every day to turn hatred to love. Jalsa Mubarak and Alaikum Salam.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paul, for those courageous words and for your courage under fire. As we're now at the end of our formal program, and I just wanted to make a few acknowledgments. As a community, we have a history of receiving bipartisan support for our Jalsa Salana from members of Congress. And again, this year was no different. We have received videos, letters, and proclamations from many public officials across our nearly 60 chapters, too many to name here. We especially thank U.S. Congresswoman Angie Craig from Minnesota, U.S. Congressman Tom Emmer from Minnesota, U.S. Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger from Virginia, U.S. Congresswoman Jennifer McClellan from Virginia for their special messages. Each of these we've posted on our YouTube page and all of our social media handles. So here at the end, I just wanted to invite all of our guests to please stay for our hospitality reception. It's located about a 7-minute walk in meeting room E10A. And our team of ushers is right there on standby to take you. We ask all of our Jalsa attendees to be mindful that our guests are going to be walking alongside you as you exit in an orderly fashion so they can make it to this reception meeting room. And all of the hosts of these guests are also invited to attend that reception. I now turn the program back to our chair.